Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, delivered to you by the great folks at DoorDash.
Ding dong.
Use promo code CONVODD, capital C, capital D is all one word, CONVODD. That will give you 25% off and free delivery on your first order with the DoorDash app. Does not get much better than that, folks. My name is Dave Quadrelli, joined as always by the man who built the place. Our technical producer is Alex Allard, high above Rogers Arena. This is the Canucks Conversation. Beautiful day.
Look at that view. Look at the blue skies, mountains. We're going to start to see more snow on those mountains, I believe, as we go here.
My hair's a little messed up in the back. I got to get a haircut
and
soon.
the front,
I'll tell you
too.
what. No,
Me too.
Looks great.
I'm actually going for a haircut and a beard trim on Thursday. I noticed today I did my Betway video this morning, and I noticed that the hairs of my mustache are hanging over my lip pretty hard and almost like getting caught when I talk. Go ahead, zoom me in here, Alex. Right in there. My mustache hairs are too long. You can see them right there.
Okay.
Sorry for the podcast listeners. They're hanging over into my lip. So I'm not happy about that. But I am happy about this. I get a chance to show off cards. You know I love this. Shout out Zephyr Epic, the good folks over there.
Promo code hockey season.
Hockey season.
Capital S, free shipping on any order of $50.
So before they sponsored the show, it would have been 2018, the fall of 2018, I decided, I'd like to start getting some rookie cards. Right, I want to collect some Canucks cards, hockey cards, get back into it a little bit. I ordered 2 boxes back then from Zephyr Epic, like I said, before they were even sponsors of the show, because you're the one who actually brought on Zephyr Epic. You and your good relationships with the South Surrey community. So I bought 2 boxes, and the 2 rookie cards I got, I was very happy with them. Rasmus Dahlin was the first one, which is a card I love. It's a beautiful rookie Young Guns, and then in the second box, I got Elias Pettersson, the rookie card. So they're up against each other tonight. A couple of Swedes and a couple. My 2 favorite, I think my 2 favorite rookie cards, because I pulled them out of a pack from Zephyr Epic way back in the day.
That means a lot, and we've pulled some good stuff from Zephyr Epic packs.
Quinn Hughes rookie cards. We've had a couple. I got a
while.
few.
It's been a while since we've done a pack opening.
As we avoid talking about the Canucks, can I show you what else I got in the mail for my card collection?
Of course.
Oh baby, another base set, original, shiny, hollow. I can't get the.
Nobody can see it.
Nobody can see it. It's a Ninetales.
Okay.
I got myself a hollow Ninetales. This is a 1999, and we talked about this off air. Alex is getting so bored doing this show. Our producer Alex, we were thinking of what we might do is have a running thing where he plays a Pokemon emulator in the background.
That would be fun.
And then we just check on his progress. Like, did he beat Brock in the first episode of him playing? Is he onto Misty yet? Like, where is he at playing the original Pokemon games? Alex, can you give us an update on the Pokemon background play? Are you on that yet or no?
No, I haven't played in a long time. So,
get him back.
It's gonna be fun to do that again. I need an emulator. You're gonna have to ship me yours, Faber.
Mm-hmm. We will work on that, but I guess before we go any further, I gotta know, of the 3 original starters, who are you picking, Alex?
Is it Charmander? I think it's the red one.
Yeah, that's right. That's the right pick.
Yeah,
I gotta put him on the spot.
Yeah, you put him on the spot. This isn't in the show notes.
Ottawa Senators red, baby. You gotta go with the Sens red.
All right, mute his mic. He's
Chris.
done.
Done. I can't mute Alex. He's got
Alex has
total control.
Alex shuts down the show because we're too mean to him.
I control the podcast for him still, so we'll get that going.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk about the Vancouver Canucks?
Yeah,
I'm genuinely asking.
We're here to
if you want to.
People here in the chat are ready to go. First, I got a little Inception on the YouTube as well. My shirt, my background, my face.
Yeah,
Everything.
someone pointed out that when we have guests on the show, there's 5 Canucks Convo logos on the screen, and if you include our backdrops, it comes up to 7.
Wow, we should try and see how many we can get in total. Well, does that count? Because you got the sticker as well on your background.
We got 4 on the screen right now. Also, enough. We're totally excluding the podcast listeners here.
I think the podcast, they understand that I just showed a holographic Ninetales base set card on the.
You've described it sufficiently.
People are coming in the chat too. Say Rattata best starter.
Okay, that's not a starter.
Well, it is for Cody.
No, that's just
everyone.
Cody.
Well, we got Squirtle or a lot of people saying Squirtle in the chat. I'm a Charmander guy myself too, right? You gotta get to the Charizard.
That's true,
right? I mean, think about the final evolution of all those 3. I think Charizard's by far the best.
Yes, Blastoise is pretty cool too, though.
Blastoise is all right. Venusaur, I actually think is underrated. I think Venusaur is pretty cool. And the Leaf.
What's the middle one of Squirtle and Blastoise.
Well, War Turtle. You want me to pull it out? I got the whole set right here.
No, it's okay.
I got War Turtle ready to
just
go.
hang on to that.
Okay.
You keep that for
But
yourself.
yeah, it's Charmander or bust. Everyone here is saying Squirtle or bust. I don't know about that.
Okay. Are you done? We done?
Well, Sterling's coming at Alex. Bro, do you even Pokemon? Apparently not.
I think he's talking to Cody, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, let's get to the Vancouver Canucks.
All right.
We are here to talk about it. It is the Canucks conversation. We wasted about 5 minutes, but I think as much as we'd like it to be longer, I think that's the longest we can go, avoiding talking about this team in their current form. Again, not to date us too much here, but the Canucks are heading into Buffalo tonight. They're wrapping up their road trip. Is it safe to say, just based on the body language, what we're kind of hearing and seeing from players, keeping in mind there was nobody at morning skate today tweeting out lines, and I again, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying, like, does anybody see a point in this at this point? You know what I mean? Like,
Canucks reporters on the road going to Niagara Falls. I've seen a video of that. I haven't seen a picture of the lines, but I've seen IMAC. What's he doing? He's over at Niagara Falls, not even at practice.
This quickly went from, we're not trying to call anybody out, to, well, IMAC was at Niagara Falls.
Hey, listen, friend of the show, Ian McIntyre. Would you be doing the same thing? Like, would you rather go see the lines at practice, or maybe it's part of your job? I guess you got to go do your job. But IMAC deserves a day off. That guy works hard.
Exactly.
And he worked hard all summer.
And I gotta add here, Vasily Podkolzin, I don't expect will be in the lineup tonight. Again, I hate saying stuff about the lineups because it's just, don't want to date yourself too much.
Hey,
but one thing
good part about this show is you got a new one tomorrow to talk about. So bang, you can be wrong all you want.
One thing that's going to stay relevant is that, Nathan Rourke today talked about how he's, thinking about doing NFL tryouts, and he's got a lot of NFL interests, and he's not sure what his future is. I'm not going to talk about CFL. My point is that's dominated the sports discourse today, on a day in which Spencer Martin is the expected starter for the Vancouver Canucks. This is part of a bigger conversation, Chris. This is a lineup thing about Spencer Martin getting the start over Thatcher Demko. This is Spencer Martin's 5th start in the past 9 games. Something to think about, something to look at, that this team right now is starting their backup over Thatcher Demko. We've gotten to that point in the season. We said, hey, there's no goaltending controversy yet. I still don't think it's a controversy, but in normal times, this would dominate the discourse on every sports platform in this city for 10 hours. And I even opened it by saying, hey, Nathan Rourke is going to the NFL, which is, look, we're not talking about it too much because it's Canucks Conversation, but, Donnie and Dolly, all these other sports shows, they're all talking about that. They're not talking about this Canucks team that's starting Spencer Martin over Thatcher Demko. It's not a goalie controversy, but in normal times, in times when people care about this team to the extent that they did, let's say even at the start of the season, this is dominating the discourse for hours on end. And it's not even being talked about.
And we've talked about this a few times over the past week or so here, is like, we're just past a month through the season now, right? Yeah. If you would have told me a month into the season, the Canucks go on a 5-game road trip and Spencer Martin starts 3 of the games, I would have been like, damn, why is what happened to Demko? Is he hurt? Is that the reason why you're seeing 3 of 5 on the road for Martin? And listen, maybe Demko's not at 100%. Maybe that's why you're getting Martin tonight. But if you look at just the play this season, it's not that it doesn't take a Kevin Woodley to tell you that Spencer Martin's been the better goalie, right? Like, he's got a save percentage above 900. You're going up against a Buffalo team here that was dominant against the Vancouver Canucks in their home opener, and they beat the wheels off of them. So you want to kind of go with the goalie that's giving you the best chance to win right now. And I think there is, I don't know if it's a huge goalie controversy about what it is in the future, but at least in the today, the here and now, a controversy for who gets the start the night of. I think there's a controversy there because Spencer Martin's been the better goalie. Yeah. Right? Like, he's been the better goalie, and maybe you do need some time off here for Demko, and maybe Spencer Martin gets a little bit of a run here before.
But it's not excuse me, sorry for cutting you off. It's not a controversy in the sense of, we got to get Demko out of here. Like, they need to trade Demko. Spencer Martin's the new goalie of the future. That's what I mean when I say it's not a controversy. I don't think Thatcher Demko is sitting there saying, I can't believe they're playing Spencer Martin.
I blew it, right? Like, he's not thinking that.
Yeah, he's not thinking, like, I can't believe they're doing this to me. I can't believe they're starting Spencer Martin over me. I think Thatcher Demko would admit that, hey, you know what? I got to get better. I have to do better. And, like, he said as much, right? And again, we haven't got his reaction to Martin starting over him, because I think this is the first real example of a game where traditionally you would think that Thatcher Demko would get this game. Again, when we broke down the schedule at the start of the year and talked about how many starts Spencer Martin would get, neither of us had this game circled, right? Like neither of us thought he would be starting this game. But here we are. Spencer Martin gets the start for the Vancouver Canucks tonight, is what we're assuming. It was tweeted by Buffalo Sabres correspondent. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name. I feel horrible about it. I'm going to look it up while you do that because we got to give proper credit. Okay. But before I do that, what I wanted to mention is just that, yeah, it's not great that we're seeing this early into the season, of course, but it's not a controversy in the sense of, I don't think anybody's saying, okay, well, Spencer Martin's the new goalie of the future. You can trade Thatcher Demko, and now it's time to do that.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm in the same boat there. I just think he's played better, and I think on this road trip where, yeah, it is kind of wild to me that this isn't being like blown up in the market, but it's almost because I think a lot of people have accepted it, right? They've accepted the thought that, hey, Spencer Martin's been better this season. It's not surprising to see it happen.
And again, it goes back to the apathy thing, right? Like we're hearing it a lot and we're seeing it a lot, right? And again, like everybody's in wait and see mode, and that's not just from Elliot Friedman coming out and doing a hit where he said it's inevitable that Boudreau gets let go. It's not from Rick Dhaliwal saying basically the same thing, that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Bruce Boudreau gets fired. And it's not the media creating this. What's creating this sense of wait and see, let's see what you're going to do next, is Jim Rutherford coming out and ripping on his coach on the radio. Like that's what started all of this.
I heard Mike McKenna talking about it today on the DFO show. I don't even know the name of DFO Live, I think it's called.
Yes.
And he mentioned, like, the quote that McKenna said about it was like, hey, they asked him if he would rather be a coach in Ottawa or Vancouver. And we already know producer Alex's answer. He's going to Ottawa for sure. He wants to get those boys back on track. But what McKenna said was like, he would probably pick Ottawa because at least the president isn't going to be a guy who runs you over with the bus, then backs up the bus on you, then drives over you again with the bus. Like that's what Mike McKenna said about what it must be like to be the coach in this group. And that's, I mean, what else can you say? Like Rutherford has come out and been very clear about his thoughts about the structure of this team and what needs to change with this team. It's just, I think a lot of people from the outside looking in, the people that have watched this team for years are thinking, I don't know if that's really the big problem. And I think that's what a lot of the Canucks fans, it's wild to see, you know, for years and years, there was like a battle of should the Canucks start to actually be a rebuilding team or, oh, they have enough here to at least make a push. And that battle was, man, it was a wild battle on Twitter for a lot of years there. And it just feels like one side is just conceded. Like everybody's in agreement now of this team needs to do something with the core. This team needs to do something with the players. It's not the coach. It's not Travis Green. You don't have, you know, another strike to go off. Like you've struck out 3 times, it feel like, and you're out. Like you got to do something different with this core and the actual players of this team, because that's the last thing that you can fall on right now. It's not Benning anymore. You know, it's not Travis Green anymore, and soon it's not going to be Bruce Boudreau anymore because they're going to get rid of him pretty soon, I have to assume. So it's time to do something with the players. Interesting, even hearing Craig Button today on Donnie and Dolly just say like, "Oh, Bo Horvat's not going to be around." Like I think that's where we're at. Like it's going to take some actual movement with the players, and we'll talk about some players a little bit later and maybe what they fetch in a trade, but it's almost weird to talk about because I think a lot of people that have wanted it for so long, now it's like here, right? Like now is the time where they're being pushed into this corner to do it, when it would have been really nice to just get ahead, right? Like when you're pushed into a corner, it's a lot more difficult to make a move. When you get ahead of things, it's a lot easier to make a move because there are other teams looking at you. And do you remember like after the bubble, like a lot of, even like around the NHL, whether it be like insiders or people that were just, you know, talking heads on television were like, well, this is an exciting up and coming Canucks team. And then, you know, that doesn't just wear off one season in. They're probably still thinking about that with the Canucks. I think a lot of people around the league still look and they're like, yeah, there's some exciting players there. But
which is true.
Yeah, but now it feels like they've backed themselves into this corner where they're going to have to make a move. And instead of like being forced to make a move and being in the situation where you have to do something, it's nice to do something when other teams have to make a move, when other teams have to add.
When you have cap space to take advantage of those teams.
When another team would, you know, adding Bo Horvat would be a huge boost to them instead of the Canucks needing to get rid of them. Like that's the way that you want to make trades. You want to do it with other teams' needs, not your team's need, which is to, you know, start to make some real big changes to this core. That's what the Canucks need to do. And when you're in a spot where you're making a trade where you need to do something, that's just not not where you want to be. And that's where the Canucks are at right now. So yeah, I mean, players like Horvat, they're going to have interest. They're going to get you a good return, but everyone's going to look and be like, like Andrei Kuzmenko, the Canucks aren't going to be able to keep this guy. Look at what's happened with him in his first year already. Maybe he's a good deadline ad for someone, or Luke Schen's a nice deadline ad for someone, Kyle Burrows, or a lot of these players, right? Like it's going to really take some big movement here, and it's not really on the coach or anyone right now. It feels like it's the players, and the players get dealt with by the general manager, and that's where things need to start moving here.
I don't know where to start. Like, I don't know where to go from there, because you've said it feels like everything that needs to be said. And the fact that we're here, where, again, like I keep going back to the Spencer Martin thing. Like I keep thinking about Spencer Martin and how, we're looking at Spencer Martin getting a start over Thatcher Demko in a game we all thought Thatcher Demko would start. And again, I'm not saying there's a goalie controversy, but there needs to be big changes with this team, and it doesn't feel like those are coming. Like it doesn't feel like those are coming right now. And again, hang on.
Think of the backlash you had with your video that we posted the other week of moving Demko.
Yeah, we talked about moving different players. Like people are like, don't you want to win games?
Here's the thing with Demko too. He's not 23. Demko turns 27 next month. Like goalies aren't. Goalies can have a little bit of an extended career if they stay healthy, but like Demko turns 37 next month. He's not the young, youthful player on this core anymore. He's 27, man. Like that's, I don't know. He's an interesting one to look at over the next few months here.
I think you have to ask yourself, first of all, JT Miller and Oliver Ekman-Larsson's contracts are both longer than Thatcher Demko, so they're here longer than him unless you do something quick and get rid of one of those guys or both of those guys. So they're here longer. Okay, so that's your bigger problem. But with Demko, you kind of look at it and say, okay, when we're looking to be competitive, right? Thatcher Demko going to be this team's goalie. You have to figure out when you're going to be competitive. I think that's what this team keeps missing, is they think they're going to be competitive enough every year, and it hasn't been good enough. This is who they are. It's not good enough. And again, I'm not coming out here to say the same thing that us and every other show and every other media member in this city has been saying for the past 2 weeks. What I'm trying to say is that this isn't good enough in its current form, and you need to look at it when you're evaluating Thatcher Demko, and if you want to move Thatcher Demko. And again, Canucks have gotten calls on a lot of young players. Thatcher Demko is no different. Moving him when there's teams giving you low ball offers, which is what we assume that the Canucks are getting a lot of right now, it's not the move. The move is to let him rebuild his confidence, show that he can steal you a couple games, and then you see what the interest level is like. You're the ones calling teams, not teams calling you saying, hey, what would be great is if you give us that Demko guy for a second-round pick. We'll take him off your hands, because clearly he's not the same goalie that you thought he was or that he was when you signed him long-term, right? Yeah. And again, he's still got years left on his contract. It's a good contract when you consider how well he played last year. I have no fear that Demko is not going to bounce back. I think Demko is going to bounce back and be a great goalie for a really long time. I almost look at this as a similar thing that Elias Pettersson went through last year, where he had that really slow start and kind of just had to figure it out for himself. And I think Demko's there too. Not to discount the horrid defense that the Canucks are playing in front of him. Oh, okay? Not trying to discredit that at all, say this is all on Demko. I stand by that it's not all on Demko. But my point is that the Canucks need to figure out, as an organization, where they are. They need to communicate that to the players. They need to communicate that to the fans. They deserve to know. You need to have a plan. You need to execute on it. And if part of that plan is, hey, you know what? We're going to punt on this season. We think we're going to be competitive in 2 to 3 years.
And all of our moves are going to direct us towards that.
Exactly. You need to have a plan that you stick with. It can't be, okay, we made this move. Now let's try and see if everybody can figure out why we did it and what our thought process is here. Because right now, all the talk of a coaching change, it's not enough. No. Like, if this organization comes out and says, hey, you know what? We've let go of Bruce Boudreau, but hey, look, we hired Barry Trotz, or we hired Rick Tocchet. We think we can turn this around. You're going to reach a whole new level of apathy. Even if this team starts winning games again this year, you've hurt this fan base once. They're not going to believe you again if you go on some run, come up just short of the playoffs, and then we repeat this again next year. There's no chance. There's no chance that can happen. It can't happen. If it does, the pitchfork should be out.
Yep. And I think that's the interesting thing too, is like, you need to do this search for this coach in the offseason for your next coach. And listen, Boudreau might even like, maybe he's here for longer than we think, because we think he's gone after tonight.
Yep.
Right. I think that they didn't want to do this over Hall of Fame weekend. But quickly, before we get to Bruce Boudreau, which you think I'd be able to say by now, I want to wrap up the road trip here. Just some stats that I wanted to just bring up here. Can you pull us up, Alex? Here, the stats from the road trip. Some interesting ones that stuck out. These are all 5-on-5 stats. JT Miller, Brock Besser, and Ilya Mikheyev all on the ice for 5 goals against through the 4 games of this road trip. Also a very low on-ice save percentage, so it's not like you can really think that like this is 100% on them. They weren't getting good goaltending, but at the same time, when you're on the ice and you're giving up quality scoring chances, like we see with this team, with these 3 players specifically at forward, you can't put all of that on the goaltending as well. So I think 857 goaltending isn't even like the worst thing to think about with this team when you think about how many high quality chances they give up against. I wanted to bring up the expected goals for throughout the trip. Only 4 players on this team have a positive expected goals for. That's Elias Pettersson, Niels Höglander, Sheldon Dries, and Kyle Burrows. Everyone else is expected to be getting scored on more when they're on the ice. And some very interesting notes of that are JT Miller and Brock Besser both in the 30 percentage area when it comes to expected goals against. So they are expecting to be scored on a ton on this road trip. Finally, looking at some of these basic analytics, Niels Höglander's actually played pretty damn good throughout this 4-game stretch here. He's only been in the lineup for 3 of those games, but a 55% Corsi, a 66% control of expected goals. All of that with only an 8.3 on ice shooting percentage. So it's not like they're scoring a ton of goals, and he's getting good goaltending when he's on the ice. So his numbers don't look horrible, but he's been, by a lot of these basic analytics, the best player for the Canucks over the last little bit here. Elias Pettersson also looking good through the 4 games here, just holding this team above water at this point, right? Like that's the thing. It's not great. I feel for Niels Höglander, because if a new coach comes in, you mentioned it, the thought process should be being good 1 to 2 to 3 years down the road. Then you should have a plan for Niels Höglander at that point.
That's the thing.
You should be looking what Niels Höglander looks like at 20, 23, 24 instead of what he looks like right now. And it's hard to keep him with somebody or let him develop chemistry, or even give him the carrot every once in a while. Let him play on the power play. With these guys, the way that he's being used in the NHL, Niels Höglander, since Bruce Boudreau came in here, I wonder, and I don't actually even wonder about this much. I think his development of him, it's not over, right? Niels Höglander's still developing as an NHL player. I think the development would have been better for him over this past year if he was in the AHL. I think it would have. I think he'd be coming out of if you're talking about this 2 to 3 year thing down the road, I think him playing in the AHL the last year would have been better for him.
That's fair. You're not going to get any pushback on that from me.
Because then he could play his game. Do you remember his rookie season? He tried the lacrosse goal twice, right? That's his game, being a really skilled player. Because Niels Höglander is extremely skilled.
Does Niels Höglander get benched if he tries that now?
Maybe, but that part has been, to me, that's been taken completely out of his game. That was an exciting piece of his his strengths, was how creative offensively he was, and not just the lacrosse goals, but doing really exciting plays in the slot that you don't see players attempt even, right? And he would try these things and pull them off on occasion, but at least just trying them is kind of cool, because it's hey, that works, or this didn't work. If he was in the AHL, he could be doing all these things. He could be, trying to work on just things that are going to help you down the road 2 to 3 years, instead of being put into the spot where he has a bad shift and then he's not in the next game. It's a little wild to me, the situation with him. And I think Podkolzin's a little bit different, because he's such a back and forth, good driving of a good driver of play, high Corsi number, always with Podkolzin when he was in the KHL. He's just that type of back and forth player. With Höglander, there's certain things that he needs to kind of tweak and see what works here in North America. And I just think that, man, I would not hate to see him in the AHL getting an opportunity to work on his actual strengths.
Okay, let's get to the Bruce Boudreau talk. I've got a few thoughts on this.
Yeah.
For Bruce Boudreau, we've talked about how Bruce probably deserved better than this. Harmon came on the show last week, talked about, how great of a coach Bruce is, and how, there's probably not a coach out there who can get more of this team, right? And again, all this talk about structure and everything, we've brought it up before. we saw what this team looked like playing with structure under Travis Green last year, and it wasn't good. It got Travis Green fired. It got Jim Benning let go because the roster wasn't good enough to play any other style, or so we thought. Bruce Boudreau comes in, takes your roster that, by your own admission, talking about Jim Rutherford here, is not good enough and needs major repairs, especially on the back end. He comes in, turns that around completely, puts this whole running gun style, knows he can rely on Thatcher Demko, and it worked. Like, it worked out for him, right? I think last year was really just short of the playoffs, probably one of the best case scenarios that the Canucks could have hoped for when they cleaned house and brought in Bruce Boudreau, right? Again, I understand Jim Rutherford didn't hire Bruce. I understand that, there's that plays a factor in it. I completely get that. But I keep coming back to this part where I say, you know what? Like, Bruce has 600 plus wins in the NHL. You're not going to find a coach better than him for this group right now in their current form. You have problems with your team. It's not Bruce that's the problem. And I know I'm repeating what everybody else is saying, but I think it is so disrespectful the way that Bruce is being treated in his final days here, his final weeks, whatever, however long he stays. Just the way Bruce Boudreau is being trotted out in front of the media. And I understand that's a requirement by the NHL. Bruce has to speak to media. I'm not criticizing the organization for putting him out there. But you look at Bruce's body language in these media availabilities and the way he's talking. Like, this was one of the most fun and happy-go-lucky guys we'd ever met in this industry, in this game. Everybody in the media loved this guy when he first got here. And now the poor guy's out of answers. Like, he doesn't know what to say because, like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's just that Bruce deserves better than this in every way you can imagine it. Bruce deserves better than this.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think he is gonna. I don't think this is the end of the road. I think he's gonna get an opportunity with a team after this. I think some team's gonna look for that Bruce bump. Actually, I think we got a photo of it. Alex, you can pull this up. Bruce Boudreau live in the locker room when Rutherford comes in today, or is that Ronaldo? I don't know if you saw this video.
I didn't.
You don't get the reference here?
No, I've been seeing
Bruce
a lot of,
I tell you, when he does get let go, I bet he's going to be in a pretty good mood. I think that
I'm curious.
You don't get this reference, eh? I hope somebody gets it.
Yeah, all the podcast listeners will get it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if on his way out, just because, hey, Rutherford, while Boudreau was an employee of this organization, said what he said about Bruce Boudreau. I'm really curious to see if Bruce goes on a little media tour of his own once he's let go. Similar to a lot of the players that have been let go by this organization. Like, just the list of players, and this is another thing that got brought up, just the list of players who have left this organization and either talked bad about them or just said, like, I don't really want to talk about what happened there. The list is just so long. Like, Jordy Ben scores the game winner with Toronto, and he's like, yeah, I grew up a Canucks fan, but it felt really good to stick it to that team. Like, and again, I know that's probably reading into it a little too much with Jordy Ben, but you've seen few players over the past 5, however many years, that have left the organization and said, you know what, that was a really great organization. I got treated really well. That was really awesome. You used to see that. You still see it with the Sedins. You still see it with Bieksa, like how they talk about how the organization treated them during their time. You don't really see that much anymore. Is Bo Horvat going to come out and say that?
Oh, I don't
Mr.
think so.
Vancouver, Mr. Canuck himself, the guy who's put his heart and like just been a perfect representation for this organization. Like saying all the right things in the media. He's been a good soldier for this team for however many years, right? Is Bo Horvat going to have great things to say about Vancouver? Like, I think Bo Horvat might say nice things because he's Bo Horvat and he's a very nice gentleman and he appreciated his time in Vancouver. I think Bo Horvat's going to be leaving with a sour taste in his mouth if he gets traded by the organization that drafted him. Again,
couldn't do anything for him either. I mean,
couldn't do anything. Couldn't get him any line mates for all of his years here. Like,
how many years?
The conversation, we're literally going to live in a world where every single year we said Bo Horvat finally has his winger. This team needs to find a winger for Bo Horvat. They're playing him like a defensive center. He's not a defensive center. You need to get someone else for him. We're going to go through Bo Horvat's entire Canucks career without him ever finding stable line mates.
Yeah. You know what Bruce Boudreau said, that book I'm never going to write. I really hope he does write that book because this would be a very interesting chapter too. But you said something there that made me think, and think about how many players have been good soldiers for this team, right? Like Bo Horvat's a great example of it, right? I think Ryan Miller even was like a good soldier for this team. A lot of these players that have been put in that situation. To me, it's time for the owner to be a good soldier for Canucks fans, right? Because I don't think he's been a good soldier for Canucks fans over the last little bit. I think it's time for Francesco Aquilini to be a good soldier and know that this team needs to be rebuilt and knows that hard times have to happen here.
And hey,
And you know what? Setting up for hard times is a lot better than having hard times thrown on you, I think. And that's what the Canucks fans have had to deal with so far. It's like they haven't been set up to be like, okay, we'll deal with the pain and we'll get through it. Instead, it's like, no, you're just getting hard times given to you when you get like high expectations. And that's the way I look at this. It's like, it's so blatantly obvious that this core isn't it. And yeah, I think the owner needs to understand that this team needs a new direction. And I think that the way that we've heard Rutherford talk about, I think that he's on board. Like, I don't know where the miscommunication is between this organization that they aren't going to go that direction. Cause it's like, we've heard enough quotes from Alvin and Rutherford about that needs to be done. And this season showed you more than anything to push you in that direction. I'm just curious when that's actually going to happen.
And I think that's the thing that everybody keeps pointing it out, right? They're like, hey, well, Montreal's rebuilding and they were way more fun to watch than the Canucks.
Yeah.
So what's the Canucks' excuse? Why aren't they rebuilding? Why are they a super slow team? Something Rutherford's pointed out himself. Why is that still the case? Why aren't we rebuilding? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing what these teams who are designed to be bad are doing, and they're still somehow better than us? Like, that's what fans are asking
that
right
thing
now.
about designed to be bad, I look at it more as like this team is designed to be better down the road. The Canucks right now aren't designed to be better down the road.
Yes.
They're designed to be good now.
And they're horrible now.
Exactly. So move into that spot where these other teams are, because I hear that all the time. They're designed to be bad. They're supposed to be bad. No, they're designed to be better down the road. That's the way these teams are looking right now, and that's where the Vancouver Canucks should be. The Canucks should be designed to be better down the road. Instead, they're designed to be good, and they're playing bad.
Yeah. And it's painful to watch. As a fan, as media, it's painful to watch. And
you got media members going to Niagara Falls.
Yeah. I'm tired of hearing also, and again, I don't know how many times I've said this, but a little variation on what I keep saying. I'm tired of hearing that this market can't stand a rebuild, because if you come out, like if you're Francesco Aquilini, you talked about it, right? It's not even, you have to embrace a rebuild, do this, do this, do this. Just communicate. Like, I know you've hired a president so that your president can be the one to communicate the plan. Have your president communicate the plan. We know who has to okay the plan, right? Have a plan that's communicated to your president, and nobody wants to hear this plan of, yeah, well, we're just going to keep building. We're not going to rebuild. We're going to build. We like to use the term build, and we're always building and trying to get better. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. If you come out and give an actual plan that fans can get on board with, and again, fans can get on board with saying, hey, you know what? This core hasn't done it. Failure isn't good enough in this market anymore. We're changing the tides. We're going to be a better team. We're going to get back to that stage that we were at when we were, a perennial organization and had teams coming from all over the world from varying sports. The NBA coming up, different teams trying to figure out what we're doing with our sleep doctors, all that. I'm not even going to get into that. But show some commitment to get this team back to being a world-class organization, because right now it's the laughingstock of the league.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. You're not like, it is. Look at the way that, how long have we asked hey, it'd be nice if the national media talked more about Vancouver. They're talking about Vancouver now.
Yeah.
Everybody is, right? Whether it be our daily face-off show or the, the wrap-up shows every night on Sportsnet and TSN and those guys. The national media is talking about it, and it's exactly what you're saying. They are talking about this team like it's the joke of the NHL. And that sucks.
It is. And
got
it
a
sucks.
another comment that kind of ties into what we've been saying here. It's easier to jump into the deep end of the pool than to slip and fall into it. And that's, the Canucks aren't even the Canucks slipped and fell into the shallow end of the pool. It's not even like they've got into the deep end of actually being bad. They might actually over the next little bit here, but not even. They're going to have to jump into the deep end of the pool now, because they have to. It's you're either going to slip and fall and miss the pool. That's the way the Canucks are playing. Yeah, the future is not looking very good, but it can be good. And it's about what you said earlier with these teams that are designed to win down the road instead of teams designed to lose. The Canucks can't do that. I don't think they can do that, but they can be a team that's designed to win down the road a little bit with the right moves and making a commitment to it.
Yep, make some forward-thinking moves. That's all anybody wants to see right now. Make some moves that just show you're recognizing that, hey, we have to have an eye on the future. And speaking of which, let's get to the prospect report.
Oh yeah, it would be nice.
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's not a prospect report. I actually just want to talk about Jonathan Lekkerimäki because like it for years and years now, I've been and this is what I'm going to say. I got to preface this by saying this is what my tweet up here on the screen right now is what I said when the Canucks were on the clock at 15 at the time. And looking now, it's not changed completely. I do think that Lekkerimäki was a solid choice at 15th overall. It's just unfortunate to see a lot of these players drafted after him. And like I watched all the highlights of Lekkerimäki. I watched a lot of him play throughout the games, and I didn't really notice as much of him being a passenger so much as I've seen this season, right? Like this season, like when he was playing at the U18s, he was excellent. Even like his play last year in the SHL, it's like, wow, as a 17-year-old, he was doing these things at the SHL level. That was very impressive. Something about him this season, the Allsvenskan, is not good. It is pretty sour about what you're seeing with Lekkerimäki. And listen, you can see my tweet. I said sprint to the stage and draft Jonathan Lekkerimäki. That's what I thought when he was still available at 15, because I thought he was a pick that was going to be gone in the top 12. Because his shot was elite and it looked really good in the SHL. But now you're seeing players that were drafted after him, like whether it be Joakim Kemell, who's got 7 goals, I believe, through 20 Liga games this season, or Owen Pickering, who went 21st overall to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like Pickering's a 6'5" defenseman. He's a point per game guy in Moose Jaw right now. He's the captain of that team. Likely won't be on the World Junior team this year, but I bet he's going to be a horse for Canada in the year after that of the World Juniors. Like Pickering's looking great. And he was 21st overall. He's a defenseman. Would have helped a lot. But even like his teammates, like Noah Ostlund, who's the center, he's got 4 points in his last 3 Allsvenskan games. Liam Ogren, who's got 4 goals in his 16 Allsvenskan games. These guys are playing on a line with Lekkerimäki and driving the play. Like out of these 3 players who play for Djurgårdens, one went 15th, one went 16th, and the other one went 19th. Lekkerimäki clearly looks like the worst of the 3 so far this season. And I don't know how much of an excuse, like I don't know what mono does to a person. And I know that he had this month, I think in March, I think was when he had it. I don't know what the lasting effects are. And people will tell me that, some people have told me that it's really bad and it can last like 6 to 7 months or whatever. And I don't know. I don't know what that means. I just haven't heard of that actually affecting a lot of people as much in my lifetime, because mono is a thing that like has happened to a lot of hockey players. I feel like, and maybe that was like 10 years ago when mono was going around, but like, it's been tough to watch Lekkerimäki have these really nice highlight plays and then follow that up by coming in and just being completely invisible for a lot of other games. And I've reached out to Djurgården's general manager, hopefully be able to talk with him over the next couple of days here and see like if there's something going on that we don't know about. But it is worrisome to see how his engagement level is in these games. And you tweeted out the stat because you're a big prospects guy, Quads.
Right.
Jonathan Myrenberg has more goals than Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Jonathan Myrenberg, the right shot defenseman who was traded away from the Canucks organization, he has more goals in Allsvenskan this year in the same amount of games as Lekkerimäki, who Lekkerimäki, by the way, is like still, aside from like a few games this year, is used on like the left half wall power play and just wiring shots that are a lot of the time missing the net, sometimes hitting the net, but a lot of the time missing the net. And he's given these opportunities. Myrenberg, he's not playing on the power play. He's scoring at 5-on-5. He's got more goals than Lekkerimäki. That's wild to me. So I do think there's reason to worry about this pick. And listen, I'm happy to say that like he's 18 years old, right? There's still a lot of room to grow. I'm not going to say that I was like, my tweet about sprinting to the stage and drafting this guy. I still feel like that was the right pick at the time. I do still feel like it was the right pick, because I think this guy is ultra talented when he's going. There just needs to be some part of like real development. And the Canucks added these bodies in their organization to help with development. So they need to do that now. Like this is where these new guys that you brought into the organization need to step up and actually start to teach this kid how to develop. And that's what you need to start doing with Lekkerimäki, because he needs development. There's clearly a lot of potential there. There's clearly a lot of skill there. Like, as much as you like the things from Danila Klimovic, you really like Lekkerimäki's ability to handle the puck, shoot the puck, do these things. He's got a super high ceiling for those type of things, but it's going to take him really upgrading the rest of his game to actually be an NHLer. And it's still so early. I know he was just recently drafted, like just few months ago, not even a handful of months at this point. It's just ever since that day where he was drafted, he's not shown well. Like I told you this, like if we seriously go into like the World Juniors here and like Elias Pettersson shows extremely well and Lekkerimäki has another tournament where he's just invisible, you can start to make the argument that like Pettersson, could be pushing for like the number one prospect in the system. Because right now I've thought that Elias Pettersson has jumped Klimovich. Like right now, my top two prospects in the Canucks system are still Jonathan Lekkerimäki at number one, but Elias Pettersson's probably number two, the defenseman. Like I think that he is. I really think Pettersson's been the guy who's been the most impressive in this most recent draft, and I was really hoping it was going to be Lekkerimäki going to, from a season where he played in the SHL and was good, now to the second division. Like I was expecting him to be scoring a lot of goals and be a leading force in getting his team back into the top Swedish league. It just hasn't happened. And a lot of people here in the chat say Mono's brutal, takes a few months to recover for sure. Brandon says I was out for 2 months for Mono. So yeah, maybe this is a little bit of a, this could be a big reason why. Sure. He had it in March, so it's been what, 8 months now? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Mono lasts 8 months. I could be completely wrong. Maybe it does, but it has been unfortunate to not see him excel like a lot of us were hoping that he would. After he was drafted 15th overall, that's a high pick, right? You need to get some value from that, and he's still so young, right? He's still 18, but like I said, development is so crucial for this kid because he needs a lot of it. He needs a lot of development. He needs to figure out how to play, like how to be effective at 5-on-5 and play. Because I like his shot. I do like his shot. I think he probably needs to work on that a little bit more. When he gets a little bit stronger, he'll probably be even better with it. It's very impressive to see like how much he weighs and what kind of release he has on a shot. It's very impressive. His high-end skills are very impressive. It just, nothing's really tying all together right now. And he's still 18. So there's still time for him to develop. I just think the Canucks need to really focus on actually developing this guy instead of like, this isn't Elias Pettersson or Quinn Hughes where they already are just like built to be a star, right? You need to put some work in on this kid to make him into a star, and he has some potential to look like that. So development is key. They got to do that.
Yep. And again, like I talked about it, I brought up Myrenberg, and obviously like you told me this, I knew it was coming too when I tweeted it, that there would be dumbass.
You can say it.
Can I say dumbasses on the show?
Sure.
There would be people in my replies, being like, oh, this is so negative, or, oh, well, this guy has more points than this guy. And in fact, someone responded and said, Brock Nelson has more points than Austin Matthews, so he must be better. It's not the point. The point is that if your idea for trading away a prospect is that, well, he's years away and Jack Studnicka's right there and Jack Studnicka's a little bit older. If that's your process, especially in this stage of your organization, like where you're at as an organization, that's incredibly flawed. Like, that's just the wrong thing. That's the wrong thing to do. If you said, hey, you know what? We don't really think Myrenberg's game's going to translate to the NHL level or something like that, that's fine. If your justification is, well, he's years away, we don't need him. Why are the Boston Bruins, who are in first place in the NHL, grabbing Jonathan Myrenberg? Why are they the team that's like, hey, you know what? Let's add this guy to our prospect pool. Like, why is Boston doing that? If they're not concerned about him being years away. And that's the point I was trying to make with the tweet. It's not to say, oh, Lekkerimäki, people should be worried about it, and Lekkerimäki, they should have traded him instead of Myrenberg. That's not the point of the tweet. The point of the tweet is, hey, Myrenberg's actually doing okay. He's doing pretty well in the same league that the
Canucks. He's also 19.
19 years old.
He's not Canucks, like 22. He's 19 years old.
Same league that the Canucks' top prospect is playing.
And it's
in.
like what I said, Lekkerimäki's on the left half wall, getting power play shots after shots after shots. These situations aren't being given to Myrenberg.
And again, like,
I don't want to go over it.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it too much. I'm just saying, like, the point is just to point out that the process of the team was incredibly flawed in that trade. Just to say that, oh, he's years away. It's insane.
Positive prospect news. I got some. Okay.
Sure.
Philip Johansson. It's the only thing that's like, I swear, he's the only positive guy we've been talking about with this prospect pool, especially since this show has started. Philip Johansson, he had an assist today in Champions League. We've talked about it in the show in the past. He plays really well in Champions League. So I guess, I can pull it up. I got the highlight here. You can blow me up here, Alex. Let's get so this is the Philip Johansson assist. He starts to play, gets it on the right side, makes a nice cross-ice pass, sends in a guy in a zone entry, makes it there, and gets a secondary assist on it. So nice little play. He's been really good in Champions hockey, which has been nice because they have English play-by-play. which I appreciate, because today I was watching a Allsvenskan game. They had Russian play-by-play. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it wasn't a great performance from the Karamaki again. Let's get to our Betway bet and wrap it up here. Feeling good about this one, actually. I told you before we got going here that I feel really good about my Betway bets of the day. My boys, Elias Pettersson, Rasmus Dahlin. I got the rookie cards right here. Showed them off earlier on the show. Got my rookie cards. I'm feeling good about it. These are my boys, each to get a power play point tonight. And Rasmus Dahlin's been excellent. 4 goals, 4 assists on the power play so far this season. He's putting up a lot of power play points. You're also seeing Pettersson, who hasn't had a power play point in the last 5 games. He's got 6 on the year. So I'd keep an eye on this one today at plus 375. I'm feeling good about getting one from each. I mean, the Canucks power play sucks. It's worse in the league. Buffalo, I just feel like you're going to maybe get a power play goal from Pettersson this one at plus 375. I like it. So I put down on both of these ones here. And then the Sabres to win outright, and then over 6.5 total goals in this one. And this is going to be the tough part of this one, is I think getting 2 points from Brock Besser. But he's got 8 points in 10 games on the season. I didn't mention this before, but on the road trip, like at 5-on-5, I think Brock Besser's been okay as well. He's got 14 shots on net at 5-on-5 through the 4 games this road trip. So I'm thinking that soon he's going to break through here. He's got to get one of those shots off and finally get a point or a goal or something here. So that's the Betway wrap up here. And yeah, we'll return tomorrow. I feel like one of these two is gonna hit. So I'm feeling good about today's Betway bet. Betway. Play responsible, 19 plus to play.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Fun show today, my friend.
It's gonna be nice to have a hockey game, you know.
Is it? I'm not so sure. For my co-host Chris Faber, my name is David Quadrelli, our technical producer Alex Allard. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Nine tails. Look at the hollow.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation, delivered by DoorDash. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?